Welcome to the Pharma Voice Editor's Take video series, filmed live at the 2013 DIA Annual Meeting in Boston, hosted by Taryn Grome, editor of Pharma Voice. In this episode, Taryn meets with Zaher El-Assi, General Manager, Merge eClinical.
Welcome to the 2013 DIA Editor's Take video program.
Thank you.
We'd like to know how eClinical software companies can impact the cost of new drugs.
You know, over the last few years, clinical trials have become more and more complex. The FDA is requiring lots more data, and of course sponsors are looking for ways to make their trials more cost effective. So they're constantly looking for ways to run these trials in a more efficient manner while trying to capture more data, while trying to gather more expert review. So more and more we have to rely on technology to help us facilitate and manage these trials so we can deliver them at a more effective cost. Our trials are not getting smaller. Our trials are not getting easier. And of course, trials are becoming very competitive. So of course, many people are reaching out for the same patient populations, for the same sites. So we have to strive to find ways to make every single stakeholder in a clinical trial more efficient, more effective, and make them better informed. And this is where, the eClinical providers can really facilitate this process. The clinical trial industry is one of the last to really latch onto an operating platform to help facilitate running a clinical trial. Now you've seen in financial services, no one would dare manage finance without an Oracle Financial, for example. In our industry, we still haven't established an operating platform or an operating system for how to conduct business in a clinical trial. Finally we're seeing the top few providers separate themselves from the rest and become more of a standard across the board. You're seeing the metadata, you're seeing the merges really become more of a standard way of how a clinical trial is conducted.
So we're looking really for global scalability with consistent data points across the board? Or?
Correct. Right. I mean, you're looking for a eClinical provider, a clinical trial system that is well vetted, that has global reach, that is used in sites globally. We have sites in 83 different countries today. One that's accepted by the sites and the users, one that the sites actually like to work with. Today, those exist. Right, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, those didn't exist because all of us were small players and there were 80 of us. Today, again, a few of us are dominating the marketplace, delivering a system that can help you standardize the way you run a clinical trial across the board. How do you plan your trial? How do you execute your trial? How do you, engage your patients? How do you engage your sites? How do you keep everyone motivated and incentivized, even with investigator payments, site payments, patient payments? How do you keep them all incentivized to continue adding value to your clinical trial? All these workflows are facilitated by eClinical technologies.
Is that one of the greatest efficiency challenges in running a clinical trial, or are there others?
It is and it isn't. I mean, I think the biggest challenge in a clinical trial today is the concept of monitoring. So monitoring, as you well know, is around source data verification. How do you verify data captured by the sites? And today, every clinical trial is obliged to go out there to the sites and verify the data being reported is actually consistent with the source documents. That's probably one of the most resource-consuming effort in a clinical trial. So when you look at large CROs, the Quintals, the PPDs, the PharmaNets, the Covances, a good portion of their staff, a significant percentage of their staff, are out there monitoring, comparing source documents to what's captured in eClinical systems. That of course is kind of mind-boggling. We actually have people traveling, getting on planes, traveling to these sites, reviewing paper and comparing to make sure it's consistent with the screen. That's probably the biggest, most wasteful activity within our industry. There are ways in the near future that we can actually tap into the source, meaning the EMRs, pull that data automatically into the EDCs, and by default we've eliminated the need for source data verification or monitoring of that data. That would create phenomenal efficiencies in a clinical trial and save tremendous percentage of those dollars being spent on a clinical trial. Any one of the CROs can show you they spend 25, 30, 40% of a study budget on this exact process.
Well, I think those are fascinating insights, and I hope to see that in the future that monitoring piece really does get solved. And I think it's beyond just the technology too. It's if a monitor has a bad day and they're not feeling great, and so
absolutely,
and that could really affect what drugs come to market.
And I think you're absolutely right, but also there's great value in other activities the monitors can perform. Rather than focusing on comparing data point A to data point B, let's have them focus on making sure we didn't miss an adverse event. Let's have them focus on how to find the next 5 patients. Monitors are skilled enough to help with patient recruitment, to help with making the site more effective and more efficient. So let's not waste our time on validating data points and rather focus our time on how to make our trial more efficient, how to make our trial conclude more quickly, and how to get these drugs to market so we can improve the human condition.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you for your time.
Additional Editors Take videos, as well as podcasts, white papers, webinars, and more, are available in the resources area at www.pharmavoice.com.